Hello guys, in this video we are going to create this quiz app using JavaScript, and this is going to be a very beginner friendly tutorial. So I can guarantee you can also build this app by watching this video, and you can show this project into your resume and your portfolio, and that will shine out. I will explain each and everything. So let me show you what we are actually making. So here is a question and we have to choose the right answer. So the right answer for this question is, let's say, first one. So click on next. The next question will be displayed, and if I will click any answer, wrong answer, so it is showing the wrong answer in red and right answer in green. And after choosing the answer, it do not allow me to again select the answer, so our click is blocked. So I have to move to next question. So this time I will choose the correct answer, so go to next, and I will again choose here the correct answer and next, and here I will also choose correct answer and click on next. So in this, for now I have added only 5 questions, but you can add as much as you wanted. The method is going to be same. When we will reach at the limit of our questions, it will show us your score are 4 out of 5. So whatever the score you will take, so it will decide your scores based on the correct answers which you have selected. And here, instead of next button, it will show us a button to play again, and if we will click on play again, it will restart our quiz app. And we will create this quiz app only by using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So I can guarantee you can also build this app by watching this video, and you can show this project into your resume and your portfolio, and that will shine out. So before starting the video, please hit that like button and also subscribe our channel. Now let's start. So here I have opened my code editor, which is Visual Studio Code. You can use any code editor. So we will start by making our files index.html and style.css, and here is our script file, which is going to be script.js. Here we will start with our HTML file, and first of all we will start by writing our basic boilerplate code. For that, write this exclamation mark and press tab. So here is our boilerplate code. So first of all I will come here and change the title of our page, which is going to be quiz app. So save this file and open this file in our browser. So to open this file in our browser, we will use live server extension. So here our document is opened in browser, and you can see here is title of our page. So I will make this a little side window so we can observe the changes while developing this app, and I will make this Visual Studio Code window small also. Now we will link our CSS file with our HTML. For that I will use link tab, and here in hrefs I will write style.css, which is basically name of our CSS file name. So let's save it and come to our style.css file, and here we will write some basic CSS code which will be applied on all elements of our HTML document. As now we want to target all of the HTML elements, so we will use a star here. First of all, I will give margin of 0 to all elements. Then I will also set the padding and set its value to 0. Font family is going to be Poppins, and in case if Poppin is not available, then we will use sans serif simply. I will also add here box sizing and set its value to border box. So now let's come back to our HTML file. So now here in body element we will add a div element with class app. For that I will write a dot here and write here app, and now press tab. So here is our div element with class tab. So for now let's save it, and now what I want to do is I want to apply a background color on all of this web page. For that let's come back to our CSS and write here body because we want to target all of body and edit it. And here we will add a background. For that I will use background property, and for its color I will be using this color code, which is going to be 001E4D. So now let's save it. You can see this background color is applied on our page. So for this reason I have opened this window here, so we can observe live changes and understand well what we are building. So now what we will do, we will add the CSS for this app class. For that I will come here to our CSS file. So for that I will use here .app, which will select our class app. In CSS, when we want to edit a class element, we always use dot before writing its name. So dot denotes class. So let's edit it. So first of all, I am going to apply a background also to all of our app class, and the color I am going to use is white. For that I will write here 6F, which is our hexadecimal code for white color. So at this point it will not be displayed because we have to give it some more elements to be displayed on our screen, and we will give it here width, which is going to be 90%, and we will give it max width, which is going to be 600 pixels. Now let's add some margin, and margin is going to be 100 pixels from top, and from left and right it is going to be auto, and from bottom it is going to be 0 pixels. And next we want to add some padding, and padding is going to be something like 30 pixels. Now let's save it. You can see the white color for our app is displayed here, but its corner are little sharp, so we want to round its corner. For that we will use here border radius, and we will set its border radius to something like 12 pixel. Now let's save it. Now you can see the corners are a little round, which looks better. And here I will zoom a little bit so we can see better things. So after this we will come back to our HTML. So here within our app class, we will create here a h1 element. I will write here quiz. Now let's save it. Now you can see we have a text here which is saying quiz. And after this we will create another div element, and we will give it class and name it something like quiz. Now in this quiz class we want to add some questions, and we will add these questions in our h2 element, and we are going to give this HTML element a ID which is going to be simply questions. Now press tab. So here we have a h2 element, and there is a ID given to it which is questions. So here we can add any text. So for now we will write here questions are here. Now you can see this text is also displayed here in our web page. So we will change the questions and add some better questions. For now we will just write questions are here. Now what we want to do, we want to add some answers. So for that we will create here a div element and give it ID answer buttons and press tab. So here we have a div element and there is ID in it which is saying answer buttons. So in this answer buttons div element, we are going to store our options for this question. So for each question there are going to be 4 options, and we want to display each option in a button. So for that we will create here a button element, and we will also give it a class name. So set its class is equal to btn. Now we want to display the answer in button. For that I will write here answer 1, and let's save it. Now you can see we have a button here in which we have written answer 1, but we want to create 4 buttons. For that we will duplicate this line 4 times. So let's duplicate it, and here we will say answer 2, and here we will say answer 3, and here we will say answer 4. Let's save it. So you can see we have now 4 buttons, each one saying answer 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the class name for all of these buttons is same. So next we want to design all of this using CSS. So let's come back to our CSS file and scroll down here a little bit, and here we will write. So first of all, we want to edit this quiz text. For that, let's come back to our HTML, and you can see this quiz is written here in h1 element, which is here in our class app. So to edit this, let's come back and write here dot app, and in app class we want to edit h1 element. So let's edit it. So for this one, first of all, we want to increase the font size. So I will use here font size and set its font size to 25 pixels. Now we want to edit its color, and for color I will use this color code, which is going to be #001E4D. So next we will add font weight. So select your font weight and we will give its font weight of 600. So next we want to draw a line here. For that I will use here border bottom. So border bottom and set its value to 1 pixel, and we want its color to be solid. For that I will write here solid, and its color code is going to be #333, which is basically a shade of black color. So let's save it. You can see here we have a line which shows this is our title, and it is separated by this line from our rest of app. Next we want to add some padding at its bottom. For that we will use here padding bottom and set its value to 30 pixels. So you can see the line is moved a little bit lower because we have given it padding of 30 pixels. So next we want to edit this quiz class. So for that, let's come back here in our CSS and we will write here dot quiz, which will select our quiz class. We want to add here some padding. So padding is going to be 20 pixels and 0. Let's save it. You can see padding is applied from all sides. So now we want to edit this text, which is here in our quiz class and written in our h2 element. So for that we will write here dot quiz and select our h2 element. So for this question we want to add first some font size, and font size is going to be something like 18 pixels. Let's change its color a little bit and set its color to this color code, which is going to be 001E4D. So basically this is a shade of blue color. Let's save it. So you won't notice it because it is a very dark blue color. And next we want to add here some font weight. For that, let's come here and write font weight and set its value to 600. So next we want to design these buttons, which are our answer buttons. So for these buttons we have used here class btn. So we will edit this using this class btn. So we will write here dot btn and let's edit it. So for these buttons we will add first some background, and background is going to be white. For that I will use this color code, and next we want to add this text color. For that we will use here color property and set it to #222. So we will write here hash not at the rate. So save it, and now we want to add some font weight, and font weight is going to be 600, let's set it to 500, and width is going to be 100%. For that we will use here width and set it to 100%. So this is going to take full width. Let's save it. You can see all of these buttons have taken full width here. So this border is a little too much. So we will edit its border and set its value to border and set its value to actually 1 pixel. And it is going to be solid, and color is going to be again #222, which is a shade of black but a little bit light. So you can see the changes are here applied, the border is also reduced and our color is also applied. So now we want to increase a little bit area of these buttons. For that we will use here padding and apply the padding of 10 pixels. Let's save it. You can see the area inside these buttons is increased. Next we want to make some distance between these buttons. For that we can give it margin. So we will give it margin and set its value to 10 pixel. So this is going to be 10 pixel from top and bottom, and we will set its margin 0 to left and right. We don't want to give margin from left and right. We only want to give margin from top and bottom. So let's save it. You can see changes are applied here. Now I will use text align and set it to left side. So the text between these buttons is aligned at left side. So now the corners of these buttons are a little bit sharp. For that we will use here border radius and set it to something like 5 pixels. So now you can see the corners are soft and a little bit rounded. Now I want to add a little thing here also. Whenever my mouse cursor will go here, it should change into a pointer or a hand. So for that we will use here cursor and set it to pointer. Let's save it. Now you can see whenever I am taking my cursor to these buttons, it is changed into a pointer. Now actually we want to add a hover effect on these buttons. So whenever we will take our cursor to a button, it should give us a hover effect. For example, if I take my cursor to this star, this is giving us a little bit hover effect in its background. You can see, and this one is also giving us a hover effect. Even though we are not clicking on it, this one is also giving us some hover effect. So we want to add same functionality for these buttons. So to edit the hover property for these buttons, we will copy this .btn and we will apply hover property on it. For that we will use .button class and right here colon. Here we want to define our hover. Let's edit it. So we want to change its background a little bit. Someone whenever will take cursor on it. So for that I will use background and we will use this color code. Let's save it. So you can see whenever I am taking my cursor on this, you can see it is changing the color and giving us a hover effect. And I know at this point this is looking very bad because the text color is also black and hover effect which we have given it is also black. So don't worry, we will fix it. So on hover we want to change the text color to turn white. In background we are giving it black color. So we will give its text color white. For that we will use hash 6f. Now let's save it. So now when I am taking my cursor on this, you can see the background is changing to black and our text is changing to white. And we want to add a little transition. For that we will add here transition and we want to apply it on all, and its duration is going to be something like 0.4 seconds. So what this transition will do, this will give a little bit transition to all of our buttons when we will refresh our page. So let me refresh it. You can see, refresh it again. You can see this is looking like the buttons are dropping from the top. So it is feeling a little bit slow. For that we will use 0.2 seconds. Let's save it. Now it was a little bit fast. So let's set it to 0.3. Now it's fine. So for now from our elements, one thing is missing, which is our next button. Of course we want to add a next button to go to next quiz question. So for that let's come back to our HTML and after this class quiz. So after this development we will create here a new button which is going to be our next, and we will give it ID which is going to be next button, and the text we want to show in that button is going to be next. of course. So you can see we have a little button here. So now we want to style this button, of course. So we will copy this and come back to our CSS. So now we want to edit this here, and we will write here first hash and then ID name. So first of all, we will add background to this button, and the color which we are going to use is going to be this hash 001E4D, and its color is going to be white. And we will also add here some font weight, and we will set it to 500. Next we want to add width for it. So the width of this button is going to be very small. For that we will use only 150 pixels. So next we want to remove its border. For that we will use here border and set its value to 0, and we will give it some padding from all sides, and we will set its padding to 10 pixels. So now we want to keep this button a little bit here. So there should be some space between these option and these buttons. For that we will add it some margin, and from top we will give it 20 pixels margin, and from left and right we will give it auto, so it should be in here center, and from bottom we will give it 0. Let's save it. And now we will set its border radius to 5 pixels and set its cursor to pointer. So now if I will take my cursor on this, it is showing as pointer. So now I want to align this here in center. So for that what we can do, we will set its display to block, and when we will set its display to block, only then this auto will work. So let's save it. Now you can see it is moved to center. Because we are specifying its margin from left and right, auto padding should only work when we will display it as a block. Now let's see our app in full screen how this is looking. So you can see this is looking pretty good. So next what we want to do is we want to hide this button actually. You will ask why? Because this button should only show here if the user will select here a answer. Only after selecting the answer the next button will show. If the user will not choose any answer, then the next button will not show. So for that, let's come back here, and for now, just for now, we will set its display to none. And if I will see here, now you can see the button is hidden. So next we want to add some questions here, and we will add different options for those questions, and we want to add some functionality to it, like we want to select a answer, and we also have to show the user if that question was correct or incorrect, and we will also counting the score of user. So for all of these things we will move to our JavaScript, and here is file for our JavaScript, and the name of file is script.js. So let's close this menu, and we will start adding its functionality here in JavaScript. But before starting with our JavaScript, we need to connect this script file with our index.html file. For that, we will just write here script, and this is our script tag, and here we will use our source attribute, and the source is going to be script.js, name of our script file. Now let's save it. So now our HTML and JavaScript file both are linked. So first of all, we are going to add here some questions. So it will take some of my time to write them. So one thing I can do, I will fast forward, and later I will explain you how you can just copy and paste your questions into JavaScript. Even you can write them if you like to. So here we have all of our questions. So first of all, we made a variable and we have given it a name question. And then we use this equal sign. After that, we have added in these square brackets till here our questions. So for first question, here is our curly bracket, and from here to here, this is our first questions, and we can write our question this way. So we will write here question and colon, and then in double quotes you can copy any question and paste here in double quotes, and then we will write here answer, and this index in these brackets we are writing here our answers. We have written each answer in these curly brackets, and after each answer we have a comma. So first of all, we have written here a text colon, and this is our first option of our quiz question 1, hypertext markup language, and after this comma we have written correct true because this is our correct option, and after this we have here more answers, but all of these are false. That's why we have written here correct false in front of all of these. So in this way, we have written here 5 questions. You can write any number of questions which you want to write. So the method is going to be same. Now at this point, all of our questions and answers are added into JavaScript. And here we have also written which answer is true, mean correct, and which option is false, mean wrong answer. For all of these, we have written this in same way. So here is our question, and here is our option 1, and here we have written if this is true or false, and if it was false then this JavaScript option was true for this question. So this is pretty simple, and there is no complex syntax to write it, but it can take your some time to write it. So now let's continue. So next we want to make some variable. So for that, let's come back to our HTML file. So here we have a ID like questions, and here we have answer buttons, and we also have here ID next button. So we will create some variables for all of these IDs in our JavaScript, so we can use those IDs in our JavaScript. So here we will come back to our JavaScript, and here we will write const, and the name of our variable is going to be question element. We are basically making this variable to import our question element and set it equal to document dot get element by id, because we have given IDs here back in our HTML. For that reason we are using get element by id, and here in these brackets further in double quotes we will write the name of our id. So let's come back here, and here we have first id which is questions. Let's copy it and paste it here in JavaScript. Questions class is now imported into our JavaScript and stored in this variable question element. So next we want to add the variable for this one. So let's copy it from here, and we will just duplicate this line. So here we can change the ID and paste our new ID, and here we will give it a new name. And the name of this variable is going to be something like answer button. Now once again duplicate this, and this variable is going to be our next button. So we will write here next button, and here we will also replace our ID which is here next btn. So let's copy this and write it here. So now when we will start our quiz app, the question number and the scores of the user will be updating. Mean if we will click on next button, the question number will change, and if he will choose correct answer, then his score will also change. So definitely we have to store both of these things and calculate them. So for that we will make here a variable and give this variable name current question index and set it equal to, our index will start from 0. When the first quiz question will appear, at that point the index will start from 0. So basically our first question is at index 0, this one is at 1, this one is at 2, this one is at 3, and this one is at 4. And next we will create score is equal to 0, because in starting both of these things will be at 0. So next here we will create one function. So for that we will write here function, and the name of this function is going to be start quiz. And here we will define this function, and here we will write. So we want if this start quiz function will run, at that point what should be happen? At that point the current question index should be at 0, so it should start from first question, and in starting the scores of the user will be also at 0. And here we will write the functionality for next button, and we will target here inner HTML next button dot inner HTML is going to be next, because when the user will click on next button, the questions and all of these text should be changed. And after the user will click on next button, so we will show him new questions. For that we will write here show question, and this show question function will that run and show us new questions. So basically this is a function, and we have not yet defined this function. So now we will create this function. For that we will come here and write our function, and the function we are going to write is this function. So let's copy it and paste it here, and now let's define this function. So here in this function we are going to create a variable let, and the name of variable is going to be current question, and set it equal to questions and our square brackets, and here we will write our current question index, and here are our semicolons. Now let's create one more variable let, and the name of variable will be question number, so we can track the number of questions, and set it equal to current questions index, and in current question index we will plus 1, because our current question index is at 0. When we will start our quiz app, it will add 1 to that index. So eventually when the user will go to next question, it will add 1 number to our question number variable. So in this way we can count on which question number we are. And here we will write question element, and we will target it in our inner HTML and set it equal to question number plus double quotes, and we will write simply a dot in these double quotes and put a space here. Why we are doing this, I will explain you in a minute. And then we will add a plus sign here, and we are going to plus here our current question dot question. So basically we have a current question variable in which we are storing a current question, which can be any question. So here we have mentioned our questions variable in which all of our questions are stored. So if I come up here, you can see here in questions, all of these questions are stored. This first set is on index 0, the second set is on index 1, and so on. So here we have written the index, and the index will start from 0. Here you can see the index is starting from 0. So when the app will run, first it will show us a question. And which question? The question on index 0. And after answering that question, when the user will click on next, what it will do? It will change the index. So it will add plus 1 to current index. So first our index was on 0, then it will change index 1, and this will show us again next time our next question, which is question number 2, and that was on index 1. So in this way this will increase our question index, and this will show us that question according to the index which is updating. So here what we are doing, we are taking our question element and targeting it in our inner HTML. So here is our question element. You can see what we are doing with this, we are updating our question element in inner HTML. And what are we showing there? We are showing there our question number And which question number we are showing? We are showing here current question and then again question. And here what we are doing, first we are checking current question. So we are looking for the index which will tell us which question number we want to show. So for example, the index is on 0 and then it will go on, for example, question number 1 and show there our question. So here you can see in our question number 1 at index 0, here is our question. So it will display our question there. Whatever will be our latest question, it will update that in our HTML element of question element. So next what we want to do, we want to add code to display these questions. So for that we will write here code. We will write here current question dot for each, and we will use here our brackets and write here answer, and we will use here our arrow function. And let's define here our arrow function. For that we are going to create here a variable with const. So the variable is going to be buttons and set it equal to document dot. And what we want to do, we need to display these question and answers. For that we have to make a element. So we will use here a create element. And what element we want to create? We want to create element for all of our buttons. So for that we will write here button, because basically we want to display all of our buttons. And then here we will target our button. For that we will use button dot, and button is in inner HTML equal to answer dot text. So what this is going to do, this will update our text in these button elements. Already we have written here answer 1, answer 2, answer 3 and answer 4, just for example. And now we are actually putting our text, our options from here into our button elements. So for that we have written here button dot inner HTML and set it equal to answer dot text. So it will update our button element with the text which is written in our answer. And in next line we will write button dot class list dot add, and here in our brackets further in double quotes we will write btn, and here are our semicolon. So what this line will do, I will write some more code and then I will explain you. And here we will write our answer button, and we want to give our answer some values. For that we will use dot append child, and which child it is going to append? It is going to append our button, and here is again our semicolon. First of all, here we have targeted our current question, and in our current question we are targeting our answer. So suppose if I will come here, so let's suppose this is our current question according to our index. So here are our answers for current question which we are targeting here. For each answers we are defining here something. So in next line we made a variable button. What we are storing, we are creating a element, and in element we are using our button. So whatever text will be there in our buttons will store here in our this variable. Next we made here a variable, and the name of variable is button. And in this button what we are actually storing, we are creating a element by using button. So in this button we have to display here some text. So we are taking that text from our answers. As I shown you, in our button element we are adding a class list which is btn. So here you can see we have a class name here btn. For each button element it will use this class name. And next what we want to do, we want to display these text in our buttons. For that we are taking our button and giving it to our answer button using append child. So now let's save it. So if I will show you something, like we have here a answer button in which we are storing our answer buttons. You can see here are our answer buttons, all of these. So we are adding this element, div element, into our answer buttons. So at this point if I will save, you can see there is no changes happening, because we need to call this function. We have not yet called this function, so it will not run. So for that, I will come here and paste this function, and here are our semicolon. So now this function will run. So when we will run our app, this function will actually called out and it will run, and it will start our current question index to 0. It will set our score to 0, and it will update our next button, and it will call this function also. So it will call this show question function. So then all of this code will be executed, and our answers will and updated questions will show there. So let me save here. Now you can see all of our questions are updated here. You can see if I come to our first question, which is at index 0, here is our question: what does HTML stand for? And here are our answers. But here with our actual answers, it is also showing us our original answers which we have added in our HTML elements. So we need to hide these, and we want to only show here our actual options for this question. And here is a one thing which I left while explaining. So let's come to JavaScript, and if I go down here, so you might be thinking I left this part while explaining the code. It is because we want to add this string to our actual question which we want to show. So for that, first we have written here a dot and then given it a space. So you can see here is our dot and here is a space, and after that we are showing our question, and here is our question. Before this dot we are showing our question number, and the question number is coming from here, which is equal to current question index plus 1. If the current question index was on 0, actually we don't want to show here 0. Our numbering should start here from 1. So that's why we have added current question plus 1, and which will make it number 1, and we are giving this value to our question number. So our question number is now storing the value 1. Then all of this is showing here us our question number 1, and then this string here, and after that we are showing here our question. So now let's come back and hide these answer 1, answer 2 and answer 3 and answer 4 which are coming from our HTML element. So to hide these, we have to hide our previous questions and our previous answer. We will come here to our show questions function, and before running all of these code which is in our show function, we will create here another function which will hide our previous answers and question, and we will give this function name something like let's give it name reset state, and this will reset our previous questions and answers. But here just we are calling this function. So now we want to define this function. To define this function, let's come here, and here we will write function, and here is our function's name, and let's define it here. In this reset function, what we want to do, let me show you. We will add here our next button, and here we will use our CSS elements a little bit. So we will write next button dot style, and what we want to style, we actually don't want to style, we want to just block its display. So we will use here style dot display and set its display to none, and here is our statement terminator. So here we will write a while, and in which we are writing here answer button. So actually we will write here answer buttons, and we will come here and also update it here, and here we will also write answer buttons. Come back, and in our answer buttons we will write dot first child. So now what we are actually doing here, we are supposing if our answer buttons have a child, then we want to remove it, and here are our curly brackets, and for that we will use here answer buttons dot remove that child which is already there. Basically we are referring to this text which is already there in our answer buttons, but this will not understand just by writing this. We have to specify, and for that we will write here answer buttons, and in our answer buttons we want to remove the first child if first child is there. So this will remove all the previous answers which we have written here. We are using answer buttons, so we have to do little bit changing here also. We have to use answer buttons. So now it is good. And now if we will save this, and here you can see all of those answers buttons are removed which were coming from our index.html, and now we have here only those answer buttons which are here. So now if I want to display here our second question, for that I will come here and just write here 1, and now let's save. You can see we have here our second question, and here I can write 2 to display our third question. So here we have our third question, and here I can write 3 to show our fourth question, and here I will write 4 to show our fourth question. Sorry, to show our fifth question, because the indexing of these questions always start from 0. So at this point, if I will click here on any answer or option, nothing is happening. So we need to choose these options. For that, we will add a click here to all of these answers. So for that, we will come here into our show questions, and here after answer button dot append child button, we will write here button dot add event listener. We use event listener when we want to check if something is happening with this button element. What we want to check, we actually want to check if someone is clicking on these buttons. So for that we will write here click. So it will check if someone is clicking on these buttons or not. And here we have to add one function name. So we will name this function something like select answers, and when someone will click on a option, it will call this function. But before running this line, we have to define which option is correct and which is false. For that we will use this current data, correct and true and false information from here our answers, which we already written while writing our question and answers. So we will write here a if, and here we want to define answer dot correct, and here we will write button dot dataset dot correct and set it equal to answer dot correct, and here is our semicolon. So here we are just checking if the option which our user have selected here, is it correct or not. So after this we will define this select answer function, because we have just called out here in our event listener, but we have not yet defined this. So for that, let's come here to bottom and we will write here a function. And which function we want to define? We want to define our select answer function. So let's define it here. And here we will write something like this: selected btn is equal to e dot target. We will actually make here a new variable in this function. So we will write here const. So we are actually making this variable select button. So let's create here another variable const, and in this variable we want to check and store if the answer is correct or not. So we will write name of the function, let's say its name should be is correct, and set it equal to. So here we will use our select button, and then we will be writing here our data set, and in that data set we want to check if that is correct. If the correct is equal to true, so basically data set is already defined. Here we have correct. If correct is equal to this true, so basically we are using this information here. So we are saying in our selected button, and in that button you will check dataset and check if in that dataset the correct is equal to true. So this will return us a boolean value. So we can use that boolean value in our if else. So we will write here if is correct. This is giving us correct answer. Then we will do here, we will write here a selected button, whichever button the user have selected, which was correct answer, and we will write here dot class list, and we want to add an element in this class list which we have created back in our HTML, and we will be adding here correct. In other case, if this is false, so for that we can use here a else condition, and we will display on our selected button, and in its class list dot add we will display here incorrect. So our selected button will store in this variable, and then it will check here if the selected button is equal to true. If the selected button will be true, then it will return us 1, and if the selected button is give us 0, then it will mean it is not true. Here we are defining, so if it is showing as true, then it will add correct, and if it is not true, this will add here incorrect. So what we want to do, if the user will click on correct answer, we will change it to green, and if the user will click on the wrong answer, then we will show red. So let's copy this correct from here and come to our CSS to style a little bit, and here we will write dot correct because this is our class. And let's design it, and what we want to do, we will add here a background, and we will set its background to, we want to add a greenish color. For that we will add here something like #9AEABC. So it is basically a little green or bluish color. So now what we want to add, we want to add the background color for our incorrect. So I will just duplicate this, and here we will write in, and that will make this incorrect, and here we will write background color for our incorrect, which is going to be hash, and the background color is going to be something like reddish, and we will write hash FF9393. So it will give it a little bit light red color. So now let's save this and also save this JavaScript. So our question is, what does HTML stand for? So here our first answer is hypertext markup language, so which seems correct to me. So let's select it. So if I will select this, so it is not selecting it. So we have did something wrong. Let me find out where. So I think we are here missing E element, because we are targeting here our E element, and E element is completely missing from here, and we can actually write this in and pass this in this bracket. So now let's save it, and if I will come here and select this, it is not working. So it should be, so actually it is working. If I click on here, you can see the background color is changed to green, and if I will click on other options, the background color is changing to red. So this is working. So now as you can see, we can click on it any number of times. So we have to disable the click after selecting one answer. To add this, let's come back to our script. So after this else, we will add here. So let me add here some code, and then I will explain it to you. So basically it is going to be a array from our answers buttons, and further in our answers button we are targeting here in the children. So for each, what we are defining, we are checking if the button dot dataset is correct, then the button class list add should be correct. So that will run in this case, which we are already running here, showing it as green. If the correct answer is selected, then what we will do, we will disable the button and set it equal to true, and we will also show in this case next button. So we will turn its display to block. So Let's save it. And if I will select this wrong answer, you can see the wrong answer is marked in red and right answer is highlighted with green. And here is our next button also showing. If I click on it, it is doing nothing because we have not yet defined its functionality. And one thing I told you we want to do, we don't want to the user to select the other answer, so we have to block the click option, so which after selecting one answer already blocked. You can see the button disable is equal to true. It is not selecting, but we have to change the cursor to show it to the user that you cannot select anything. So now it is not selecting anything. If I will turn it to false and let's save it, now select this correct answer, and now you can see I can select multiple answers. So you can see, so we have to turn this to true, so it will disable. Now after selecting one, it is not selecting other. So now we want to just change the cursor, but before changing the cursor we have to hide the hover effect after selecting the button. Of course, this hover effect should not show after selecting the correct answer or wrong answer, whatever we have selected. So to remove this hover, we will come here to our style.css, and here we have dot button and we are hovering it here, and we will add here one more thing which is going to be not, and here we will add our brackets, and in these brackets we will use our square brackets, and in this we will write disabled. So the button hover will work when the button is not disabled, and if the button is disabled then this will not work. And here we will add one more thing, and what we want to add, we will add here dot btn disabled, because we want to change our cursor after disabling the button. So we will use here our cursor and set it to no draw. Now let's save it. Let's refresh this website, and now let's choose this wrong answer. So you can see after I have chosen the wrong answer, it is doing three things. It is showing the background color red for the wrong answer which we have chosen, and it is also showing the green color for our correct answer. And after choosing, it has removed the hover effect and disabled the click. And after disabling the click, when I will take my cursor to these buttons, it is changing to no drop, which is showing user a caution that you cannot select any button now. So here we will add one more thing. Whenever we will choose the correct answer, our score should increase. So for that, let's come back to our JavaScript, and here we are checking if the user have clicked on correct, and after this line, we will add only one more line. We will actually update the score if the user have clicked on correct answer. So we will use here score and plus plus. So basically this plus plus means this line score, take the score and set it equal to whatever the score are, score, and add a 1 in those scores. This basically mean this. It will take the value of score and add +1 in that, and again store that value into our score. Suppose we have the current score 0, so it will add 1 in it, so the score will become 1, and it will store that score in our score variable. And suppose if the current score is 5, then it will add 1 into that and the score will become 6, and then it will store back that 6 in this score. So I will remove this from here. So after adding this, we can see here our next button is showing but not working. So we need to add function for our next button. So for that, let's come here just over our start quiz at the end. And here we will define our next button function, and we want to add a event listener on this function because we want to define when someone will click on this, then what happen. So for that, we will add here add event listener. Add which event we want to add here. We want to add a click keyword on this, and here we will add arrow function. So when the user will click on that, in that case what should happen, we will define that in this arrow function. So here is our arrow function, and let's define this arrow function now. And here we want to add if. So first of all, we want to check our current index. Is this index is less than our question's length? So here we will use our question dot length, and then we will define what should happen. So what we mean by question length, if the total number of our question is 5, then the question's length is basically 5. And here we will add one function for that. In this case, we will write here handle. So handle next button, and in else case, let's move this a little bit further. So here we will use our else function, and here we will start our quiz. If the current question length is less than our question length, then we will handle our next button. If the current question length reaches our question length, then we will start our quiz and call this function. So here we will use our brackets. What it will do, suppose if we reach the last question, and after that the user will click on if next button, it will restart the quiz. So we need to define handle next button this function. So let's copy this and paste it after writing this function, and now paste it here and let's define it. And in this one, what we want to do, we want to increase the index of our current question, which is still on 0. For that, we will increase our index. So we will use our current index and plus 1 into it. So it will show the next question. And again, we will add here if current question index is less than questions dot length. Actually, here I have to use the correct spelling for length, length, and here in its else case we will write, so if the current question index is not less than our question length, so in this case we should show user the scores. So for that we will call here a function which is going to be show score, and we will in this case run this function, but we haven't yet defined this function. Here are showing some red lines. So to remove these red lines, actually after this clicks double quotes we have to put a comma, and now you can see all of these red lines are gone. So actually we will write this function a little bit up. So cut it from here and paste it here before our next button, click listener. So it should check all of these things before this functionality of next button. So we will paste it here, and before this function we will define this show score function. For that we will write here function, and with function we want to define the show score function, and the S here is capital. Let's now define this. And here we will add a function reset state which we already created. So this reset state will show us the scores. So in this case it should only show us the scores, not the question element. So what we can do here, we will write here question element dot inner HTML, and we will set this question element equal to, and write this thing in our backticks, and we will show here you scored, and here we will display our score. For that we will use our dollar sign and pass here our score element. It will show you scored, for example 2 out of, here we want to show the total number of questions. So here we will add dollar sign, and here we will pass the variable which is storing our questions length. So we will write here questions dot length, and here we will use exclamation mark after this. So here is our statement terminator. semicolon. So after this we will add next button and target it in our inner HTML. So here inner HTML, and we will set it equal to, we want to change this text which is written in here our next button, and we will change it to play again, because of course there is no more questions. So we will write here in double quotes play again. So capitalize this P. So basically it will update the text in our next button and update this by this text, and the actual next button will be blocked. So we will write here next button dot style dot display and set it equal to none. Sorry, we have to add here block, not none. And now at this point let's save this, but for we have to look why this error is showing here. So here actually we have missed the curly bracket after our ifs condition. So we have to put this code in this bracket, and we will remove this extra bracket from here, and here is our else function. Now I think it's okay. So here is the function starting. So we have to end the function's ending bracket here. So now I think it's perfect. So let's save it. For the first question, let's choose this wrong answer first. So it will mark the wrong answer as red and highlight the correct answer in green, and now click on next. So next button is not working yet also. So it is not working because if we come to our next button, add word listener, click. So here we have to use current question index, not only current question. So now let's save it, and now let's select one wrong, for example answer, and click on next. So next button is finally working. Next question is which language is primarily used for web development. So here we are using JavaScript, so the correct answer will be JavaScript. So select it, it is marked as correct. So go to next. So which of the following is a popular version control system? So one option is GitHub, Jenkins, Docker. So here the correct answer is GitHub. And which of the following is not a programming language? The HTML is not the programming language, and go to next. And what does CSS stand for? The correct answer is cascading style sheet, but we will eventually choose a wrong answer. So our question length is completed. If now I will click on next button, it will show me score. You got scored 3 out of 5 because I chose 3 correct answers and 2 wrong. The 2 wrong was the first and the last one. So here instead of next button, it is showing us play again. If we will play it again and choose this time all the correct answers. So hypertext markup language, and here is our JavaScript, and here is our GitHub, and here is our HTML, and here is our cascading style sheet. If I will click on next, it is showing us our scores 5 out of 5, which is correct, and this time we will select all of the wrong answers. So I am selecting all of the wrong answers. So this time it is giving us a 0 out of 5 scores. So in this way, our quiz app is working perfectly, and we have created this using only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I will provide you all of the code which you can download from link in description for free. So I hope you will find this tutorial helpful, and after watching this tutorial and understanding it, you will be able to make your own quiz app. So if you have any questions, you can write those questions in comment, and please appreciate me by liking this video, and I will continue to upload further in our JavaScript project playlist. You can check out the playlist on my channel in which I am creating JavaScript, HTML and CSS projects. So this is enough for today's videos. I will see you in next one.